Welcome in. Today's Wednesday, and I believe it's the 14th, and we're here with our guest, Scott Grace. Scott, how are you?
Well, I'm great, and I'm here with my host, Eric. What's your name?
McCarty. What's what's his name? What's his name? It's my alias, actually. I go by that.
Very good.
Scott is a author. He's a performer. I don't know if I would call you a teacher, but I don't know if I would call you an activist. Um, although
Call
you're
me what
active,
you will, but
you're
I'm
very active.
here. I'm here, and I'm going to make a difference in your life and the people who are listening or watching. So
Um,
my history matters not. Who am I? I don't care.
Scott,
Don't
you've
quote
actually
my
already made a
resume.
difference.
Yay!
I am reading through your book that you sent me, that you very kindly sent me, um, and your newest one, um, and which is why one of the things I put in our title here is building bridges, um,
Yes.
because it's a beautiful sentiment. Let me start this way. Um, if curiosity is the antidote, Scott, what is the sickness? What's the problem?
Fear, fear of the other, fear of death, a sense of powerlessness, a sense of separation from God. You know, there's so many ways of saying the same thing, but it's just showing up in this history, in this time, in this place. Uh, it's just showing up in a different form, but it's the same thing that caused the Crusades or the McCarthy era. Uh, it's the same sickness, just a different form.
Um, but you have hope, right?
No, I'm pretty hopeless. Suicide is just one choice away. No, of course I have hope. I have vision, because humanity is an eternal stream of God's love. And no matter how many times we fall, we are going to get up on our feet and get it right because God gives us endless opportunities. And there's no such thing as failing, there's just learning.
I like that.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm going to give you one more thing. Um,
Hmm.
can you teach us how to build a fairy castle?
Okay, so Eric and I have a little inside joke because he's read my most recent book. You haven't, whoever you are. So in the book, I describe an experience where when Donald Trump was elected president the first time, I think it was 2016, I was upset. I know my daughter, who was like 5 years old, was upset, but she just wanted to go build a fairy house. She wanted to forget about it. And I, for some reason, thought, no, we can't forget about this. We need to talk about it, which is ridiculous, right? 5, 6, 7 years old, whatever she was, um, she had the right idea. Forget about it. And I did. I got down on my knees and immersed myself in her world, which was about building a fairy house in the park. And I brought that up in my most recent book, which is called Beyond Red and Blue, uh, and then something about humanity. Do you remember what it was?
Uh,
uh,
I will let you know.
Staying human in divided times. It's the first time in my career as an author that I have dabbled or moved in the direction of something that could be called political. Although for me, it's all about relationships, healing the split or divided mind. It's always been about that. But right now, people's attention is in the United States and sometimes, everywhere, people's attention is focused on the current crisis. Uh, and So that's where I go. I go as a teacher, I go where people's attention goes.
One of the things that I love that you said is that um, the the plague, what we're suffering from right now, is
Mhm.
that we are addicted to needing to be right at all times and
Mm.
not having any room for anyone else to not having room for us to possibly be wrong and not giving room to others to possibly be right.
Yeah. There is a poem that I open up my book with that I share when I speak about this topic that I think would be both fun and a great opening for our conversation for people to hear. May I share that with your
Yes.
listeners?
Yep.
Okay. So I think I have this memorized, but just in case, I'm going to grab the cheat sheet, is what we call it in my world, and I'm just opening it up. So I have a side of myself I call the spiritual Dr. Seuss, which is my excuse to get wise and playful with people. Um, and this is the forward for my new book, which is not out yet. Eric got an advance copy. So, will you write the forward? Scott asked me last month. I said, yes, indeed. He had paid for my lunch. I read the whole book and it sparked up my pen, and rhymes were ignited again and again. But this is no fable for babes getting tucked in. It's a wake up adult's book for the nightmares we're stuck in. A book without answers, but full of good questions, ones to chew slowly for mindful digestion. Like, why do most folks see just red or blue? Could there be more than one valid view? Are opinions synonymous with what is true? Is this what our founders had hoped we would do? Old, honest Abe, now he was the man. A house this divided cannot long stand. He was Republican, President Lincoln, and I'd like to see more of the ways he was thinking. Why are opinions becoming more rigid? Why is the Cold War becoming more frigid? What could be making extremes so attractive? What could be making our brains so reactive? I've got a theory that might be quite freeing, that points to the glasses through which we've been seeing, a dark pair of lenses that filter out light till all we can see is just black and just white. No room for discussion. You're wrong and I'm right. Blood pressure rises, adrenaline spikes, till I'm left with two options: just fight or just flight. And when on the menu there's only two F's, it brings out my worst traits and hides all the rest. No listening to you. It's time to go tribal, to stick with my own kind and steer clear of rivals. My rivals cannot be the least understood. It's safe to assume they are up to no good. I learned this from news shows that always agree with my view of the world and the way it should be. Whether it's Fox or MSNBC, it sure sounds fair and balanced to me. These glasses make sure I obscure self reflection, so I claim the high ground in moral direction. Now, it's easy to spot those dark glasses on Putin, but in my own mirror, now that I'm disputing. I've got to stay blind to my mind's battlefront so I can cast blame on those liberals or Trump. Could it be most of us have now donned these glasses? letting the media blow smoke up our asses, using the internet for amplifying the reasons the other side needs demonizing. Our differences seemingly so polarizing. We can spend half the day back and forth analyzing. The trespassing's always those other dumb asses, never the fault of our own faulty glasses. May this book help us take off those glasses and see what we all have in common, our humanity.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
And an awesome rendition. Scott, thank you for that.
It really touches me. When I started, well, my publisher actually not just suggested, but demanded that I write this book, knowing I have a lot to say about it. And I was so scared, um, and finding every excuse not to go there. And then he, um, well, what happened next? I forgot. Oh no, I remember. That poem started to come to me. It was the download, and excited. It was playful, it was disarming. It was taking me away from my fears and my self-consciousness and just starting to turn me on. And it was innocent and childlike. And I thought, I could do this. Let's just go with this poem. Instead of trying to tackle the world's problems, instead of putting myself in the fire of how serious this topic is and how opinionated everyone is and how scared I was of other people's opinions and getting into the fire. Instead of all of that, I just had some fun with the rhymes and it helped me build the courage to keep going and write the freaking book that was in me to write that only my publisher knew I had in me at that time. Does that make
Um,
sense,
it does make
David?
sense. And I
Yeah.
love the playfulness. Uh, I love the curiosity that you show, and the fact that you are not you're not demonizing anyone. You're not demonizing the left. You're not
Mm,
demonizing the right. You are
mm,
truly building bridges.
yeah. And I'm pretty leftist myself. And I started to have lunch, dinner time with people on the other side of the fence and even make friends. And it's been amazing. It's been so illuminating for me, humbling to look at the world through other people's glasses instead of letting the media blow smoke up our asses. That was, one of my favorite lines from that poem.
Right.
These are
Um,
human beings. I mean, we've never let ourselves be so separated by opinions before. It used to be that we could make fun of ourselves, that Congress people could go out to lunch after arguing on the Congress floor and talk about their kids. This level of demonizing is kind of new.
but we can fix it.
Stand the other side, or just to even seek is better than what we've been doing.
I agree.
Cur-
Uh, Scott,
Curiosity.
I think when we're moving a bit, that we time out just a little bit.
Did you say when we're moving?
Yep. If you move a bit, then we lose connection just a bit.
So I'm going to stay still.
Still ish.
Be still and know that I am God.
Yes. Um, Beneath opinions. This is what I read when you were on the plane, talking to an elderly couple wearing red hats. Beneath
Indeed.
opinions, we're the same. Beneath all the opinions of this person should do things this way, this person is right, this person is wrong. We want the same things. You know, we want safety. Uh, we want our family to be protected. We want steady jobs. We want a good income.
I,
We want.
yeah, I don't know how long the list will go, but let me tell the listeners, the viewers, what the story is. Well, so I was on an airplane, sitting next to or across the aisle from people who had a vastly different political point of view than me because they wore MAGA hats. If I had a hat, it would be red, white, and blue, and it would say MALA, Make America Laugh Again. So I was sitting there, it was a 4-hour flight, finding excuses to stay separate from them. And I was getting tired of just my my attitude, the sense of threat that I felt, and the enemy images that I had that these people were my enemies. And like, I had long enough on the airplane to start to question my rigidity. So I said to them, "Excuse me, but do you have any grandchildren?" And they lit up and they started to show me pictures and we started talking. And they told me stories. I expressed interest. I forgot about our different points of view. I wasn't even looking at their hats anymore. And, they asked me if I had any grandchildren. I was kind of offended by that because I thought of myself as too young. But I got over it pretty quickly. And I said, I have a daughter, she's 12, no grandchildren. But I showed her pictures of my daughter, them, and we just built up enough connection and casual chatting that eventually I felt safe enough to take the plunge and ask the question that was on my mind, which was, I hope you don't find this too nosy, but I'm really curious. What kind of world are you hoping that President Trump leaves your grandchildren? And they painted a picture of the kind of world I want to live in, where everyone has enough and the world is a safer place. They had vastly different strategies, ideas about how to accomplish that, but they really wanted what I wanted. They didn't want anyone to suffer. They didn't want to throw, all these black people or, you know, Democrats under the bus. They didn't want bad things to happen for anyone. Now, I was really touched by that. It really humbled me and it altered my worldview a bit, which is why I wrote about that in the book.
Um, and it was very touching and it was very moving. It was also insightful because I think we've given up on dialogue these days, haven't we?
Well, speak for yourself, senor. I personally haven't. And, a lot of people, including Bill Maher, who's very left, loves having people on his show that disagree, um, and respectfully. I yes, there's a certain extremist energy that is permeating our culture right now. that makes the media very happy because the more animosity the media can drum up, the more adrenaline helps them make money. It's drama, it's dramatic, and it does help the profits. Um, but it's not. I believe when you look at the human heart and not the media coverage, that most people don't want the drama. They want dialogue. They just need permission to have those kinds of dialogues and a safe place. And it's scary for a lot of people to look at other points of view right now. It's almost as like the world is getting closer to everything coming to a head. And that brings out adrenaline, fight or flight, and it makes people at their worst because they're scared. Fight or flight does not bring out the best in people.
Um, these days, it feels like we have a lot of, well, it's almost like we're trained to fight, to that we're given an opposition, like you said, the mainstream media. Um, I wonder that, you mentioned the antidote to this is curiosity.
I did. I also mentioned that um, people, if you drop the political argument and say how are your kids, or what's the weather like, or just hit them at a point of connection. It's um, people want connection. You just have to find an excuse to offer that to people. So how about those Yankees? I mean, just something that drops the tug of war and hits people where we're all human.
You
Am I
know,
being Pollyanna? I hope not.
do you think maybe we might need a little Pollyanna-ish in our lives?
Yeah. We call it Pollyanna, but really to me it's called being human.
Right.
Mm.
Um, Scott, I'm thinking baseball because I'm not a huge baseball fan. I don't follow it. I can't tell you who won the World Series for the last probably 40 years. But baseball from April until what, October or November is always being played somewhere. And it's the soundtrack of spring and summer and fall. And it used to uh, bring people together. It was a unifying game, a unifying soundtrack. Baseball always being played, and we could drop our differences and enjoy a game.
Yes. There's always been something about sports since Greece, when people learned in ancient times to stop throwing their spears at their enemies. And so it dawned on somebody, hey, let's see who can throw our spears the furthest. And that's where competition was born. And it's been unifying to and a way to drop enemy images and have actually fun being enemies instead of being murderous. Does
Um,
that
it does.
it,
I mean, sports is a great metaphor. Maybe uh, primal escapism.
it's a way of channeling aggression into something that doesn't kill us.
That's important.
So yeah, human beings have aggression, but we don't need to hurt each other. We can actually turn it into a game.
um, I think that sort of leads us a little bit to, and we'll zigzag back and forth. I know some people have questions about sacred masculinity, but you were talking about aggression.
Oh, yeah, that's my last book. Happy to jump ship and talk about that if you'd like.
Sure. I mean, um, I figured we'll get rid of the ship altogether, and we'll just keep jumping around and see where we land.
All right.
Uh, I'm open. Um, and we had a question about using discernment to cut away egoic attachments, or are we using it to build walls against vulnerability?
Let me get this straight. Uh, are we using discernment
Yes.
to to chip away at egoic attachments? Please, that's a big jump for me. Take me and the listeners and the viewers wherever the hell you want to go because I'm confused.
Um, well, this is a question from a friend in the chat.
Okay.
So let's see if we can unpack it a bit. So uh, using discernment for our political views, discernment for our aggression, discernment for whatever is presenting itself. Um, can we phrase it this way? Can we use that maybe to cut away at our egoic attachments, or can we also use it to build walls against our own vulnerability?
Hmm. Yeah, both, right? We can do both. Just like any tool, discernment is neutral, and you could use it for ego, or you can use it for solving problems and building bridges. I'm saying that realizing I'm a little lost, really not connecting with the question. So I'm just throwing answers out into
Sure.
the wind.
Um, that's that's probably the best way to do it. We see what answer a question, we see what comes up, um, and I'd like to answer.
Please
So,
do. Yeah.
n-
Oh, I thought
um,
you said I'd like to answer. And
no,
I
I
said,
like
please
I
do.
like your answer.
Oh, okay.
I
It's
thought you
an
covered it well.
it's an abstract question, so it needs an abstract answer. If the listener could get a little more into their human, like why ask such a question? What's going on inside your heart? If they can come up with more, then I can answer more personally. Otherwise, it's an abstract answer for an abstract question.
Sure. So, if you were to rephrase that,
Yeah,
it was
go. Let's chat, senor, whoever you are. Let's chat about it.
sure. That sounds good.
Because
Um,
you're in the chat room.
yep. We
And the jump to my other book, like what are we doing? But what do you want from me?
let's go with one sacred masculinity versus toxic masculinity, because
Let's do that.
I know when people hear the phrase toxic masculinity, they first um, it can be very upsetting that masculinity is not toxic, which I think you would agree with in essence.
Of course, masculinity is just like femininity. It's a neutral. It's yin and yang. There's nothing toxic about it. When people are using these words, toxic masculinity, first of all, it reminds me that there's something called TM, transcendental meditation,
Right.
toxic masculinity. But that's neither here nor there. What has been labeled as toxic masculinity is men who are insecure and who've been taught that the way to hide from their insecurity so they can feel safe in this world is to overdo masculinity. Um, and it's a way of hiding from vulnerability and hiding from themselves and overdosing on adrenaline and cortisol and testosterone, which in balance with other hormones is a beautiful thing.
So how do we contrast that with the with sacred masculinity?
It's a good question because I know in my world, there's been a lot of talk about the sacred feminine, the goddess energy. And there's not been so much talk about, well, um, what is sacred masculinity? Because masculinity has gotten a bad name. You know, it's been responsible for all the wars and uh, to some extent, yes, men have been fighting and destructing and, responsible for wars, but not men, wounded men. And the wound is when aggression takes the place of humanity, of being human together.
That was a beautiful answer. By the way, we have a uh, someone in the chat who says that they want to do funny dances around a campfire with you.
Mm. Let's do some funny dances. Let's take some cosmic chances. Let's do some word romances. Let's have some fun around a campfire, doing whatever your heart does desire, wearing the kind of casual attire that really makes us glow. Let's go into the undertow and let the tide take us out to sea where we can be silly and honor our humanity without being so serious. Because what's all the trouble? What's all the fuss? We are here to laugh, love, and trust.
Off the top of your head,
See, that's why I got a haircut recently, so I can
this
take words off the top of my head.
is amazing. That was amazing. Uh, we have someone who wants to know if you are aware of Robert Bly, Robert L. Moore,
Yes.
James Hillman, Robert
Yes,
Johnson.
I actually almost mentioned his name recently when because I was going to say this toxic masculinity judgment. It it started in the 80s. I did men's workshops. I did something called the New Warrior Training, um, and what we're looking at now is the antidote to toxic masculinity. What is raw, powerful, sacred masculinity? How can we really play with that and have that be the balance and the antidote to toxic masculinity? Beating drums, reading poetry, and getting along with women and respecting sacred femininity.
Um, we have the same person who asked you that says sacred masculinity requires an initiation.
Yeah, initiation is a powerful word, and I mention it many times in my book, which is called uh, Mindful Masculinity, a book for men and the women who love them. We mention sacred, sacred masculinity, not just loving your manhood, but treating it with utmost respect and dignity, treating yourself that way. No apologizing for your masculinity.
Um, since we contain the essence of uh, masculinity and femininity within each sex, is there such a thing as experiencing toxic masculinity as a female? Do you believe?
Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, anybody can be out of balance. There's a lot of women, my judgment, a lot of political figures who get where they are by overemphasizing their masculine side. And very understandably so. There's a lot of women who have had to fight and claw and overemphasize aggression in order to have a voice and have power in our culture.
Um, wow. So we come to finding balance. And I guess the first thing is knowing that we're out of balance.
Mhm.
How do we do that?
It's usually a very personal thing, like a breakdown, a divorce, um, an addiction that threatens to kill you or break up your family or whatever. It's personal. Your life breaks down. You start taking a deep look within, and it's not a lot of fun. Nervous breakdown. I call it a nervous breakthrough because sometimes it's the only way to get your attention.
Could we consider that breakdown the initial stages of our initiation?
Yeah, and I think it happens personally, but it's also happening on a global scale. It's really happening to the United States of America. I believe that we're seeing a national, and in some ways international crisis of epic proportions.
But we can, that serves a role. I believe you mentioned that, um, that it's in the, we can maybe say the humbling, that something new grows.
Indeed, absolutely. The forest is burning, and the this is the prelude to the ashes actually go into the soil, and neutral nutrition creates a new soil and new growth.
We have a question here that says, do you often find yourself stumped to deliver truth through the narrative, being mindful of the fearful and the confused?
Wow, that sounds profound. I wish I understood it.
Um, well, that we'll unpack this too. That when you are when you're talking, when you're giving a presentation, or when you're performing, and you are um, want to deliver what you consider, the truth about building a bridge, the truth about bringing us together, the truth about underlying love between us. Do you ever find yourself stumped by other people and yourself, maybe even being, fearful and confused? Is it hard to get your message through that fear and the confusion?
Yes, but so far I haven't like gone on Sean Hannity. Um, I haven't really like hit the big time and had conversations with people who are really entrenched in their ways. So far, I've um, I've been, I don't know, maybe preaching to the choir. I do, as I said, I have some Republican friends who challenge me, but I haven't had big audiences. I haven't gone on Fox News, thank
Do
God.
you suspect that Hannity, Carlson, some of the above names might act as a trigger, or do you think that you are um, that you've cultivated your sense of curiosity enough that you would be willing to, you know, bend a knee with them?
I will do my best and I'll let you know how it goes. However, um, some people are paid and are very skilled in creating fight energy because that's what drives the ratings, and that's what animates them as human beings. They want the fight. They want to get a rise out of me. So it will be interesting. It's kind of like the advanced course for me. So I'm building enough experience and maybe even courage to take my show into those kinds of environments. But so far, my speaking has been to Unitarian churches, and I've had it easy so far.
Um, the question here is any tips for a hothead to respond and not react?
Yeah, therapy. Come see me. I'm a life coach, and I actually do therapy for people. Um, it's a hothead. I would say learn to breathe really deeply, feel your passion, and ask yourself, what do I really want? What is behind my passion? Because hot head is a very passionate response that stands for something. You may have been trained to speak in what you won't stand for, what you can't stand, but you also stand for something. You have passion. You want a certain outcome, and you have good reasons for it. Let's unpack them together. Nobody wants bad for humanity. Everybody wants the best. We just have different strategies for how we think it has to go to get there.
That's a bit of a game changer. If we think in terms of strategy, instead of, you know, instead of making someone wrong, they just
Yeah,
have a different strategy.
right. And we all in some way want everyone to get their needs met, or are just really passionately wanting to get our own needs met. But on some level, we recognize that unless everyone gets their needs met, we're not going to be happy. So, but that it takes a while to get there. Uh,
Um,
the fear level has to decrease for people to be human together.
I'm struck by the line in the Course of Miracles about the tiny mad idea, in which we remember not to laugh. And we talk about this fairly often in the live stream here. That it seems the antidote to fear is that laughter, which you bring a lot of. Um, and the more that we can laugh at ourselves, the more that we can laugh with others, um, the less toxic everything would be.
Yeah, and one thing that we can laugh at together is our unwillingness to, well, let me share one of my poems, my Dr. Seuss. So the ego will travel with you on this earth and be your companion for worse or worse. It pretends it's your friend, your bestest amigo, and it pours on the guilt. That's the beverage of ego. It's there to protect you, to help you feel strong. So it has to remind you you've done it all wrong. You're weak and you're lazy and you don't have a clue. That's your drill sergeant ego trying to motivate you. Your ego wants you to be all you can be. So it gives you these pep talks all day and for free. Oh, the places you'll go and the guilt trips you'll travel as the ego plays judge and bangs down on its gavel. But you always can get some relief from your shame by projecting it onto the others you'll blame. For that is the ego at its beastiest best. It nurses its grievances close to its chest. Republicans, liberals, your parents, your ex. The world is just teeming with folks to correct. If only these fools could conform to your ways, you could get on with life without further delays. The ego loves finding new gripes to complain about, turns molehills to mountains of yikes to feel pain about. Sometimes the ego stuff gets you so stuffy, you come down with a cold or an ouchie, more roughy. But there's no time for rest, so get up out of bed. If you're just here and now, you will not get ahead. The ego loves finding new gripes to complain about, turns molehills to mountains of yikes to feel pain about. Sometimes the ego's stuff gets you so stuffy, you come down with a cold or an ouchie more roughy. So it goes on and on. It's about a 7-minute poem. But if you want, we can stop there and unpack what I just shared. It
Let's
does have a
unpack that.
happy, yeah, it has a happy ending, but we can start just unpacking that.
Um, can we get the happy ending and then unpack? I
Sure.
always like
The
that
happy
happy ending.
ending kind of sounds like a sexual release.
I was hesitant. I was hesitant to say that, but I couldn't think of
One
anything else.
one day when you failed and succeeded enough, you witnessed the ego exposed in the buff. You realize behind all its protective clothing, the ego's been hiding a state of self-loathing. And beyond that, you realize the biggest of deals. You've dreamt up the ego. It's not even real. So for richer, for poorer, in all kinds of health, you make a commitment to loving yourself. You release the projections you placed upon others and find through forgiveness that peace is discovered. Hmm. You're not in a hurry, you're taking it slow because the journey's as rich as the places you'll go. Where you are going, you don't need to know because the journey's as rich as the places you'll go. The journey's as rich as the places you'll go. That's the end.
Okay, I like that happy ending. Um, so if we were to unpack that, I was especially struck by the way um, that you brought in that the ego is just not real. Deeply
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And it starts with witnessing, to witness the ego exposed in the buff. That's incredible when you finally see moving, what's been moving you is fear itself, which can be called the ego.
Um, so we were talking about antidote earlier. Antidote for fear is curiosity. So we could say the antidote for the ego, the two being synonymous, is curiosity as
Mm,
well. When we dive in to examine it, we
mm,
see through it.
mm, mm. The timing is different for each person. Some people are here on the planet to develop an ego. And, I remember when um, I was in high school and I had this English teacher that I knew was a monk of some kind, very mystical. And when I went to college, I became really spiritual. And I was studying A Course in Miracles, and all of these things were happening. And it's very exciting to me. And when I went back to Brooklyn, New York, uh, I I started to get into um, such incredible things for a young man to get into. And I went back to visit my high school teacher, who I knew had been a monk, And I was very excited, and I said, I want to tell you all the things I'm into. And he said, it was kind of disappointing to me. He said, "Wow, you're pretty young for that. Why don't you go out in the world and rub your nose in it for a while?" His point was, you don't even have enough of an ego developed for you to start getting into releasing your ego. That was pretty interesting, I thought. I didn't like it at the time, but now I can understand what he was pointing at.
Right. So did you dive into the world and build up that ego?
No, I kept studying Course in Miracles. I went into it with more passion. I moved into a Course in Miracles community in New Jersey.
That's a story there by itself. I'm assuming from the smile and the chuckle.
Yeah, that's my first book called Teach Me How to Love.
Okay, I will look for that. I'm enjoying your book now, so I'm looking forward to diving back in.
Mm,
You ready for a sacred masculinity question?
I am.
If my reality operates on the principle of as above, so below, is the sacred masculine task to simply observe the truth of this realm, or are we actively responsible for transmitting a higher frequency into it to help bridge the gap between physical and the divine?
It's a trick question, isn't it? As if there's only two possible answers. It's not an either or, and it's different for each person. So I refuse to answer your questions on the grounds that it might put me or somebody else into a box where they don't belong.
Okay. Which is actually sort of an answer there. That, as you said, it's gonna
Yeah,
it's gonna be different.
yeah, different for each person.
Um, let's see. We had some other questions pass through. They're going by pretty quick. I'm not able to keep up with all of them.
Ooh, I'm glad we're engaging people.
Uh, Miss Flipper, our friend of ours, she's a Course in Miracles student, and she
Oh,
does Miracle Mondays with me every Monday. Um, what does loving oneself mean?
well, if we're talking about our sense of separate self or ego, it's a trick question, isn't it? Because you can't love a self that is based on a false premise. So, what does loving oneself mean? I believe that children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. The greatest love of all. Um, what does loving yourself mean? It means caring about your well being. It means respecting, um, adoring, accepting yourself for your limitations and your beauty, forgiving the times you've been unconscious and hurt others or hurt yourself. And it means having fun.
Scott, can we really be loving ourselves if we are actively hating anybody else, any group, any party,
Mhm.
political party?
No, not really, because it's a trick question, isn't it? Because yourself includes others. Yourself is not separate from others. So when you hate somebody else, you're hating yourself. You are hating a disowned shadow aspect of yourself, but it's still you. Does that
Right.
make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of I've always loved about the course is it's a lot of inner work, but at the same time, it needs people. you're not uh, you're not a Course in Miracles monk separated from other people, because you're just not going to progress unless you have that
The
shadow
the
to work
the
with.
Course in Miracles is a spiritual path of using relationships to heal the mind. So yeah, it's a relationship spiritual path.
Um, because I would have liked to, from time to time, uh, taken a Course in Miracles monkhood pledge that I will be, sit alone in my office or my basement, and I'll read the book, and I will be perfectly enlightened, uh, until someone knocks on my door, in the in the midst of my
U,
study.
UPS, get out of my face! I'm studying a Course in Miracles, asshole.
Exactly. Uh,
I'm just UPS doing my job.
and that's a funny thing, um, because people who are pushing our buttons are just doing their job.
You betcha.
We
Yeah.
have a friend, David Fishman. What?
Oh, Dove.
Yes, Dove. And on his business card says, uh, "Be thankful for your grievances. Be grateful for your
Oh,
grievances,
mm,
or be grateful for your triggers."
yes, yes, yeah,
Um,
nice. Dove was in the first Course in Miracles group I ever went to in Greenwich Village. I was like, 19 years old, and him and his wife Suzanne at the time were leading it, or they were part of it. I forget.
he's been up twice. Uh, Last Friday, and just sitting with his in his presence has been wonderful. Same with Vicky Poppy. She was up.
Vicky is part of the community that I live in now, and we see her 5 days a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Um,
So I live in Namaste Village, which is an interfaith but very Course in Miracles community. James Twyman started it, and James and Vicky and someone else. We all kind of lead the morning sessions, which are available on Zoom or YouTube later.
uh, Big fan of James, by the way. He was supposed to come up, 3 months ago, but
Hmm.
he was unable to make it. So we're gonna hopefully reschedule sometime. I did see that he is shoveling snow right now,
Yeah, he's in Chicago.
in Chicago. Yes. Um, and I was supposed to have Carol Howe up yesterday, but we had some technical problems. Uh, so she asked if I could call her, which I did, and I tried to patch the call through, so that we could do it on the chat as well. But YouTube, if you're doing a personal call, you can't have volume on your. It, it didn't work. Let me put it that way. And Carol said, "Then this conversation is just for you." And she just gave me such a beautiful 20 minutes, that I'm forever thankful that the technical difficulties brought Carol just for me. Um, so it worked out for me. I'm sorry that I couldn't bring her up for everyone, but it was very nice for me. So I think I've read in your book, or where did I read somewhere? You're 63, right?
Not quite. I'm going to be 63 on March 7th.
Oh, um, and you mentioned that, so you were studying the course at 19,
18.
18. What drew you,
Uh,
at such a young age, to have that? Because I had my own mystical bent at that age, but the
mm,
the course would have been too much for me at 18.
mhm, mhm. So yeah, in high school, my guitar teacher turned me on to books. You Prather, um, Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment, and some of these books had quotes from A Course in Miracles, And one of my favorite books that I studied with a close friend of mine was um, Illusions by Richard Bach. And Illusions meant it led me to A Course in Miracles, and it mentioned this idea that there was a Messiah's handbook, which was fictional in Illusions. But me and my friend said, I wonder if there really is a Messiah's handbook. And when I found A Course in Miracles being quoted in different books, I got a hold of it. And I said to my buddy, I think I found the Messiah's
Oh wow.
handbook. But it's not a handbook, it's freaking huge.
Um, did you say you met Richard Bach?
No, I did not say that.
No. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Um, I know he was in an accident a few years ago, a plane accident.
Mm,
So I hope
mm,
he is recovering well. I always have hope
mhm.
for a new book by Richard Bach. Um, we'll see. Illusions was a very important book for me, as was Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Um,
Indeed,
and those were
indeed.
books because they were so clearly written, they were entertaining, they were adventurous, that at a young age I could sink my teeth into.
Me too. Me too. Wow.
Um, I love thinking of I love thinking of Course in Miracles as the Messiah's Handbook. I I appreciate hearing that. This will that'll stick in my mind. Um, did you get what you were looking for in A Course in Miracles? Because I know you've been on to some other things as well.
Mm. Did I get what I was looking for? Uh, in some ways it's just another book. Um, and it led me to a personal relationship with Jesus that I, as an atheist, as a Jew, I never would have predicted
Right?
that.
How surprising was that for you when it first started occurring that you were literally listening to the voice of Jesus and responding?
Never did I ever imagine, even when I was reading the course, that it was from Jesus. Give me a break. Uh, and and then one day at a Dead concert, the LSD was kicking in, and it was really overwhelming and scary for me. And as I made my way out of the concert, I was trying to find my car to get a sweat jacket, and I heard a voice say, I'll help you find it." And I was like, "Who is this? What?" It was like a voice, and it said, "Oh, you wouldn't believe me if I told you, but just follow my lead and we'll get you to your car." And, for hours, I listened to this voice and I started asking it questions, realizing that it was Jesus, and I said, you know "Who are you?" And it said, "Well, I'm the author of a book that you're very fond of." And it had a sense of humor, and it was just like soothing my nervous system uh, when I was just very overwhelmed to be on this very hallucinogenic drug in the midst of a very crowded parking lot. And when I woke up the next morning, I thought, okay, that was a really cool hallucination. I was dreaming that I was talking to Jesus. And the voice was still there. And it said, that wasn't a hallucination. And that began a romantic, beautiful, special relationship I had with the voice of Jesus.
To be fair, it's not that surprising. I mean, you're both Jewish. Uh, you were both at a Grateful Dead show. You had a lot. You had a lot in common, Scott.
Oh, wait, I have to tell you that before the voice kicked in, um, I was waiting for the porta potty, and the woman in front of me turned around, looked me in the eyes, took my hands, and said, "Are you an angel in training?" And I had to say, "Yes, I am." And she said, he's teaching us. Teaching us all. And somehow I knew that it was Jesus that was being discussed. And she took my hands and we just started skipping and dancing and laughing, and that was the beginning of hearing that voice and realizing that I was in contact with Jeshua. And I always felt more comfortable calling him Jeshua or Yeshua. I think
Um,
that's what his parents called him.
there is something transcendent about a Grateful Dead show. You know, we were talking about planting seeds with illusions and Jonathan Livingston Seagull being important.
Mm-hmm.
Grateful
Mm-hmm.
Dead shows were a very important spiritual advancement in my early part of my life.
Mm.
I did not have a conversation with Jesus, I regret, at a show, but I did have conversations with Jerry Garcia. Pretty, pretty sure Jerry Garcia was not anywhere near my vicinity whatsoever. But those were important events nonetheless. You know, experiencing that sense of non-locality, that
Mm.
you can um, you can get wisdom from sources that are within you that take an appearance
Hmm.
outside of us, which, as
Oh,
you did.
yeah. Yeah. I would recommend to anybody to take someone that's dear to you, who's even a fictional character, Winnie the Pooh, whatever, and start talking to them and imagine that you're getting answers. And as long as the answers are wise, gentle, playful, soft, if they're pointing you towards the energy of unconditional love, then go ahead and make them up. Let it be that you're making stuff up, because there will come a time where you'll realize you're not making it up. You're just accessing your higher self through a voice and an energy that you can trust.
Speaking of your workshops and what you teach, do you offer um, anything, a sort of an initiation with the sacred masculinity? Is this something that you broach? Okay. Um, uh, a friend wants to know: Can Scott talk about active imagination as an entertainer? As you being an entertainer, can you talk about
Mm.
active imagination?
Well, isn't imagination active? Um, you know, we are getting close to the end, aren't we?
Yep.
Okay. So I would say active imagination is not something I'd like to talk about. Uh, 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 I would like to say that it's something that every child, doesn't have to talk about. It's playful, it's natural, it's innate in the human spirit. And let's end with a song that I
Okay.
wrote about A Course in Miracles, or that was one of the first songs inspired by A Course in Miracles, that is pure, playful, mischievous, active imagination in process. And What a wonderful way to end our beautiful time together. And also to let people know if they want to get a hold of me, I have a website, scottsongs.com, SCOTTSONGS.com. And all my books are mentioned on the home page. And the new one, if you sign up and subscribe to my newsletters, then you'll know. I think it'll be 1 to 3 months, maybe March 1st is my goal before I have it out. Beyond Red and Blue, in which I kind of go to the non-duality uh, kind of Course in Miracles message into politics where it's most needed. So anyway, this is called Miracle Doctor, and it's just a little playful idea I had about what happens if a normal guy, Joe Sixpack, goes to a doctor who's into A Course in Miracles. Okay, now I'm going to have to take off these headphones and put the phone on speakerphone for you to hear the guitar. So let's do that. Can you hear me, Eric?
I can.
So I'm on speakerphone. Okay, good. You can hear the guitar?
I can hear the guitar.
So I went to the doctor because there was something wrong with my health. I wrote me a prescription, and on the pad it said, love yourself. I said, doctor, doctor, can you cure me? My body is in a bind. He said, the only thing I find wrong with you are the attack thoughts in your mind. He said, the only thing that is wrong with you are the attack thoughts in your mind. I really wasn't listening. I said, what's up with you, Jack? Are you some kind of witch doctor or just a plain old-fashioned quack? Oops, my battery's getting so low. I have to interrupt the song to put the...
Sure.
Yep. Okay. So, are you some kind of witch doctor or just a plain old-fashioned quack? And let's see if I can do this. Wow, what's going on? It seems like my okay. Mm-hmm. There it goes. Okay. Okay, that should do it.
Yep.
Plain old-fashioned quack. Then he bent down to kiss my feet. I said, you really do belong in a cage. He said, I've been to the zoo and I love you too. And welcome to the new age. He said, I've been to the zoo and I love you too. Welcome to the new age. Well, my head was aching, there was no mistaking. A lot was going on in there. I said, give me 2 bufferins to end my suffering. I'm covered by Medicare. He said, I don't believe in medicine. I'm not that kind of guy. Well, wait. I don't believe in medicine. I'm not that kind of guy. Oh, yeah, but if you take some breaths, God will do the rest and will open up your third eye. Well, if you take some breaths, God will do the rest and will open up your third eye. I said, no, 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 no. But then I started to glow when he tapped me on the head. There was so much light, it was a beautiful sight, and I thought,
I must be dead. He said, take a breath. There is no death. There is only life divine. And I want you to know that you just now let go of some attack thoughts in your mind. He said, I want you to know that you just let go of some attack thoughts in your mind. Well, I ran for the door, couldn't take any more from this medical mystery man. But something was wrong, you see, my headache was gone. I felt so good I didn't understand. I went back to the doctor and he hugged me without warning. He said, have a course in miracles and call me in the morning. He said, have a course in miracles and call me in the morning.
Awesome, Scott.
1986, I wrote that.
Well, we had someone give you a rating,
A
1
rate.
to 10, and they gave you an 11 out of 10
Thank you so
for your
much.
performance.
Thank
And
you.
your link for your songs has been dropped in the chat so people can find you. And I will put it in the description when
What
when I
link? What's the missing link?
the missing link. It's not missing any longer. It is we have the home base of Scott Grace, life
Oh,
coaching, speaking services,
yeah.
song portraits.
That's
Subscribe.
that's my website. Thank you for putting it up there. I also have YouTube where people can listen to a lot of songs. You can join me at Facebook at Scott K Grace. K is my middle initial. And so there you go.
And I will have that information in the description for this, so people can
Don't
find it when they come by and listen.
don't be a stranger.
I will not be a stranger. You think you might want to come back and talk again?
I would. Oh no, I hate talking. I love you guys. I love you. I love talking. I love listening. I love singing. I love the poetry that comes through me.
We have one last question for you, and then I'll let you go. Have you ever considered doing a children's show, Scott?
Yeah. Um, that has crossed my mind. And in fact, when I moved to Mexico, somebody propositioned me to do a children's show, like a Mr. Rogers kind of show for Mexicans, where she would speak Spanish. I uh, I haven't really pursued it, but I do feel like sometimes I feel like the Mr. Rogers of spirituality. There's a Mr. Rogers energy that wants to come through me, and um, the truth is that I had a song the weekend I wrote this song. I didn't know it, but Mr. Rogers died, and I wrote a tribute song to him when um, when he died. So it was beautiful. It's like he passed through and gave me this song called "A Beautiful Day." I'm not in a hurry. Do you guys want to hear it as our last song?
Our last song. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So this is on the same album that the other song was on, the Miracle Doctor song. It's called Levitational Pull, which is kind of a takeoff of Gravitational Pull.
Mhm.
But I imagine people don't do albums anymore. You know, it was a CD. Um, but, either of those songs, they're actually under my last name, which is Calixtine. Before I legally changed my name to Scott Grace in 2010, my last name, my birth name was Calixtine. So if you look on YouTube or Spotify or Spotify,
Mhm.
it's actually under my last name, Kalechstein. Although those two songs are on my YouTube, Scott Grace. Both it's called A Beautiful Day, the one I'm about to play, and miracle doctor. So beautiful day goes like this. Goes like this, boys and girls. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Our spirit is soaring free. I've taken the weight of the world off my shoulders, found a lighter me. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. There are no locks on the doors. People come out to play every day, and we know what life is for. We laugh at the notion that love is rare. We laugh at the notion of fear. We come to each moment with cupboards bare. Open our hearts to the heaven that's here. We open our hearts to the heaven that's here. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, in my body community. My organs and cells get along with each other, a happy biology. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, so we're having a block party. God has decreed there'll be joy in the streets, so we sacrifice self-misery. We laugh at the notion that love is rare. We laugh at the notion of fear. We come to each moment with cupboards bare, and open our hearts to the heaven that's here. We open our hearts to the heaven that's here. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Our spirit is soaring free. Taking the weight of the world off our shoulders, found our unity. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Mr. Rogers is singing along. Who would have known that this journey home would lead us all back to his song? Who would have known that our journey home would lead us all back to his song? A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? You betcha.
God, I'd love to be your neighbor.
Well, good, because we share the same planet.
We do. You have definitely touched a lot of people here in the chat.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm so
Someone
glad.
wants to know if they could do a jazz version of this.
A what version?
A jazz version.
Yeah.
His son is a jazz musician.
You know, jazz has always been my favorite language, and
too.
I took 8 CDs, and then I took a break, and I said to my music producer, who was a jazz musician, I said, I want to take jazz guitar lessons. And so I did. And it was the first time I did something for music that was not part of my career. It's just for, I wanted to learn songs that I loved: Gershwin, Cole Porter, the classics. And it had nothing to do with my career. So it was really like me coming back home to music as a love instead of as something to make money doing. So it was really important for me to just take jazz guitar lessons. And after a few years, I had 12 new songs. And I said, holy shit, these songs want to be recorded. And they have nothing to do with spirituality, personal growth. They're just jazz songs. So I went into the recording studio, had the time of my life, and it's an album. It does have some spiritual messages, to be honest, and it's an album I call Something New. So if anybody wants to hear my very positive jazzy lyrics and music, go to YouTube and go to Something New, Spotify, and you have to type in my last name, Scott Kalekstein, Kalechstein, Kalekstein.
Got it. Um, so his son plays in the MTSU university. I'm not sure which one of it is. It's in Mississippi, I think. Anyway, he's in a jazz music. He's a jazz musician, and he said uh, that he bets they would love to cover that song, and they would be honored to work with you.
Wow. Well, put him in touch with me. That would be incredible.
I will. I will.
Hmm.
And your uh, Spotify link has been dropped in the live stream as well in the chat. So we got you covered. We got you
I,
covered. All the
I,
bases.
I, I call that Spotify.
Spotify. Um,
Fantastic.
so all of those will be in the link. So, and we will be plugging you. I'll be making clips of this. I will definitely, if you don't mind, be clipping your closing number, and we're going to share that all over the place. So, and I'll ask people to share it out as well.
Please
Um,
do. And when you say my closing number, what was that?
the Mr. Rogers song.
Okay, it's really beautifully done in the recording studio with background vocals and flutes and cellos and everything. So I would recommend that people go find it on Spotify, YouTube. It's called A Beautiful Day, and the sound quality is so much better than what you just heard.
Sure.
A Beautiful Day, Scott Kalekstein.
Um, I'm a big fan of Unplugged. So I really enjoyed you and your guitar and the sincerity in which you sang it. So thank you for that.
Mm.
For me, that's a gift. I know musicians and there can be very much perfectionist, but this was to me this was a gift.
I get you. Yeah, definitely. It was a gift for me to be with you guys. I had no idea what to expect. Um, you downplayed it as something kind of small, and yet people were there and they were very involved, and it was a conversation, and I'm very pleased that we had it.
Me too. And I hope to have another one, Scott.
We will.
Very last thing, because I know uh, you experience at dead shows. Uh, from one deadhead to another. May Bobby be playing right now with
Oh yeah.
Gary and Phil.
Oh man. Fantastic.
Yeah, love you, my friend.
Oh, thank you, Eric, my brother, and everyone who listening, your brothers, your sisters, your transgenders, whatever you are, we are one, and I love you.
Love you too, guys. I'll see you at 5 o'clock. Take care.
Adios.